AI and AI writing are going to be a meaningful part of the professional world that we're all entering into. But perhaps the most meaningful part of that world is understanding where AI fails. Because that's where we're going to continue to always need people to intervene with AI. So we are going to start our look at meaningful sources and meaningful arguments with my favorite topic, how AI fails. So this is an AI essay on AI plagiarism, on plagiarism in online classes. This was written by ChatGPT. So first of all, look at this title. It's pretty similar to the title of one of our student essays. It's an accurate title, but does it encourage you to read this essay when you're understanding the phenomenon of academic dishonesty, why students cheat in online classes? It's informative, but do you want to read it? Remember, the function of a title is to draw you in and to get you to go to that first paragraph. And what is that first paragraph? So let's look at this introduction. First of all, the first sentence here, academic integrity is a cornerstone of education, fostering trust, fairness, and accountability within learning environments. Pause. Fostering trust, fairness, and accountability. What's the meaning of this list? Why include this list here? And how do these points differ? How is fostering trust different from accountability? If the essay body paragraphs were to build on the difference between, if this was about fostering trust and this was about accountability and it indicated how these things are different, then this would be a meaningful list. But that's not what it does. So this list is really just repetitive. And that's a classic AI issue, that there's these repetitive lists that mean nothing. And so you've just wasted 2 minutes and 37 seconds of my life with a list that is meaningless. Now, this statement here, this essay delves into multifaceted reasons why students resort to cheating in online classes and discusses potential strategies to address these pervasive issues. That's a good statement, but it's not an argument. It's just saying what happens. Like, hey, the sky is blue and the sun rises in the east. These are statements that are true, but they are not arguments. Therefore, they are not thesis statements. This is a failed thesis. Now, let's look at body paragraphs. Notice each paragraph here has a heading. That's an absolute fail on any essay in any style. Headings should be used very sparingly, and if they're used at all, they should group topics. So if there were 3 topics that dealt with the issue of convenience and accessibility, that's a perfectly good reason to have a heading. Otherwise, get rid of the heading and all of the thesis and each topic sentence to convey the flow of the argument. Now, besides that, what does this entire paragraph do besides waste your life? I mean, does it prove anything? Is there any evidence in this topic, either from personal experience or outside sources? Absolutely not. A paragraph like this should prove that cheating is more convenient and accessible in an online learning environment than it is in a face-to-face environment. And it should have a causal or effect emphasis. This does none of that. It does indicate that online classes, for example, lack direct supervision, but it doesn't prove that in-person classes have more oversight or supervision, particularly if writing is all turned in online, as it's required to be now because that's how we have online plagiarism checkers. So, this paragraph does absolutely nothing, it proves nothing, and there's no cause-effect argument in this entire thing. This is an absolute fail. So, moving on. In Pressure to Succeed, once again, it has something that in the context of online classes where performance metrics such as grades and GPA remain significant markers of success, some students may resort to cheating as a means to maintain a competitive edge. What this doesn't show is that this is specific to an online class. And it states in the context of online classes, but look at, there are no citations. There's no references to any evidence, either from personal experience, which AI of course doesn't have, or to secondary sources. This unsupported statement therefore means nothing. Now, if you could prove that grades and GPA are more significant online than they are in person, which I don't know how you could prove that, but let's say you could. If you had a source that stated it, you could then make perhaps a causal statement here, but without evidence, this statement means nothing. Now, this statement on lack of engagement and motivation, or excuse me, this paragraph on that, does make more of an argument, but it lacks any evidence or support. So once again, that argument doesn't really have meaning. Now, the reason this has some kind of argument is that it references concrete ideas. It's like being disconnected from the learning process, which could lead to a decreased motivation, which could lead to a sense to just sort of bypass something that feels more tedious. So here we have that chain argument. Could you try again? That chain argument that we've been talking about in a paragraph, but without any sources to define this. It's not a meaningful or professional or college level essay. So, this is an essay that absolutely fails. And because it has no sources, no meaningful evidence to support it, when it gets to a conclusion, it means absolutely nothing. It can't point to anything concrete or to any sources or any studies or anything that means anything. And so this is just a bunch of words piled on top of each other that has no substance.